Another news there is Lufthansa interested to take over embattled Alitalia. Any idea what's in the deal for both parties?
Yeah, while the entire airline industry today is shocked about this horrible accident that we are seeing happening in Algeria with more than 250 people being killed, we are getting word, in fact, that Lufthansa seems to be also together with EasyJet, the low-cost carrier here in Europe, interested to take over Alitalia. Alitalia, the state-owned company from Italy, has been going through quite some crisis. And Carsten Spohr, he is the CEO of Lufthansa. I'm getting confused with all those companies today. He said that he is now interested in taking over Alitalia, not Alitalia as it is right now, but a sort of a new Alitalia with a new strategy, because here for the entire airline industry, Italy is a very important market. So yeah, we have to see how all of this story is going to develop and who at the end is really going to get the company.
We wait and see. In the meantime, the European Commission has raided the offices of 21st Century Fox in London. As news services say, investigators will remain in the premises until Thursday. What are the investigators sniffing around the Fox for?
Yes, indeed. European Union investigators raided the London offices of 21st Century Fox unit amid concerns that some companies have colluded in bidding for the right to broadcast a sporting event. Sport events are usually very expensive, but for a company also very lucrative one, since millions of viewers watch those at home, and those licenses are extremely difficult to get. Now the European Commission said in a statement that it carried out unannounced inspections at offices in several European countries, but it didn't identify the companies involved. They are stating that they have concerns that those companies involved may have violated European antitrust rules that prohibit cartels and restrictive business practices. The Commission officials were combined by their counterparts from the relevant national competition authorities, and the Commission stressed that the inquiry into these concerns does not necessarily mean that those companies are guilty of those anti-competitive behavior. Fox Network Group, which includes 21st Century Fox television, cable, sport media businesses, they said in a statement today that they are cooperating fully with the investigation.
This is also a developing story that we probably have to put an eye on and see what comes out of it. It's an interesting one anyway. Thank you for your time, Daniel. Enjoy the rest of the day. We'll move on now to the U.S., where stock index futures slipped ahead of Wednesday's open, pulling back from the strong gains seen in the previous trading session. Around 5:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Dow futures slipped 78 points, indicating a drop of 103 points at the open. The Nasdaq and S&P 500 futures also indicated a negative start to Wednesday's session for their respective markets. Talk of a potential trade war continues to rattle sentiment, while Facebook kept Wall Street preoccupied on Tuesday as the tech giant CEO Mark Zuckerberg testified in front of the Senate Judiciary and Commerce Committees. Turmoil within the U.S. administration will remain a focus following news that the FBI raided the New York office and home of President Donald Trump's personal attorney, Michael Cohen, on Monday. In data, mortgage applications will be released at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, followed by the Consumer Price Index at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and the monthly Treasury Statement at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. On the corporate front, Bed Bath & Beyond is due to report its latest earnings report. Now, the minutes from the Federal Open Market Committee's March meeting are due to be released at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. No speeches by the U.S. Federal Reserve are scheduled for Wednesday. And in Asia, stocks closed mixed today, with several regional markets giving up early gains after recent trade fears waned in the last session. In Tokyo, the Nikkei 225 slipped after closing higher in the past two sessions. The index closed down 0.49%. Across the Korean Strait, the Kospi finished lower by 0.27% at 2,444.22, as gains seen earlier in the day fizzled out, while the junior Kosdaq advanced 0.92%. Greater China markets traded higher, with Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index tacking on 0.53% on the back of gains in the energy and material sectors. The Shanghai Composite rose by 0.52% to 3,208.32, and the smaller Shenzhen Composite added 0.53% to end at 1,850 points. Meanwhile, in Sydney, the S&P ASX 200 shed 0.48% to finish at 5,828.70, as most sub-indices closed in the red, although energy and materials rose. And back here in Africa, South Africa's MTN aims to list its Nigerian unit in an initial public offering this year, subject to market conditions. The group chief executive, Rob Shatter, says plans were well advanced and the company would provide exact terms of the IPO in the next few months. He was speaking in Lagos after MTN signed an agreement with EcoBank to form a partnership on mobile banking across Africa. He added the South African Telecoms Group is targeting 60 million customers via mobile services over the next 3 years, up from 23 million now across the 14 markets where it has launched the product. And Vivo Energy, the African fuel supplier owned by oil trading giant Vitol and Helios investment partners, will float on the London Stock Exchange and the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. The public offering of the company, which sells Shell-branded fuels and lubricants in 15 African countries, is one of a string of large listings expected in Europe, which is on course for its busiest start to the year since 2015. Vitol's European refining and downstream venture, Varo Energy, was also expected to float in Amsterdam this year, though those plans are now in doubt. Vivo, established in December 2011 through the carve-out of Shell's African downstream business, is wholly owned by Vitol, the world's largest oil trader, and Helios, an Africa-focused private investment firm. It reported adjusted earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization of $376 million in 2017, up from $302 million a year earlier. And Tunisia plans to recover 6.5 billion dinars, that's about $2.72 billion of bad loans in 3 public banks as part of its banking reforms. Banking reforms was required by the International Monetary Fund, which it agreed in 2016 to assist Tunisia with a 4-year loan program worth about $2.8 billion. In 2015, the government injected $400 million to recapitalize struggling state lenders. A committee will be set up to monitor this work, which will include 5 lawmakers. The North African country is in the midst of an economic slump and under pressure from foreign donors to cut a bloated public payroll and a budget deficit. And after the break, Embassy of Nigeria in the U.S. to host U.S.-Nigeria Investment Summit. Details in a moment. To stay with us.